the strength we were never meant to carry. I want to introduce you to someone who is quietly reshaping what it means to stand in the face of unimaginable loss. Her name is JanetLBoyd Boyd, and she is not just surviving grief, she is transforming it into a lifeline for others. She is a beacon of hope for Black mothers and families who have been silenced by trauma, and a living testament to the power of speaking your truth even when your voice shakes. Her impact on making the world a better place is profound, quiet, and revolutionary. She is teaching us that resilience is not about being unbreakable. It is about being brave enough to break and then choosing to stand again. Today, I want to share with you the insights she offered, the lessons embedded in her journey, and the stories of other women who have turned their deepest pain into their most powerful purpose. We live in a world that tells us to be strong, to keep going, to hold it together, to show up no matter what. And for Black women, especially those of us who have spent decades leading, nurturing, protecting, and providing, that message is not just a suggestion, it is an expectation. It is a script we have been handed since childhood. Be the backbone, be the rock, be unbreakable. But what happens when the weight of that expectation becomes unbearable? What happens when the very thing that was supposed to keep you standing becomes the thing that crushes you? Janet Boyd Boyd knows that weight. She knows what it feels like to lose a child to a fentanyl overdose while he was incarcerated. She knows the suffocating silence that follows such a loss, the isolation, the guilt, the questions that have no answers. And yet, 3 years later, she is still standing. Not because she is superhuman, not because she has figured it all out, but because she made a choice day by day, moment by moment, to keep breathing, to lean into her faith, and to speak her truth, even when the world around her preferred silence. Her words echo in my mind. Trying over trauma, 3 years later, here I go, still standing. And it hurts each and every day, but God makes it easier to bear. My faith and comfort in knowing that He cares for me. That is not a testimony of perfection. That is a testimony of resilience. That is what it looks like to be soft in a world that taught you survival. That is what it means to refuse to carry the strength we were never meant to carry alone. Now, let me ask you something. How many of us have been taught that vulnerability is weakness? How many of us have been told directly or indirectly that sharing our pain is a burden to others? How many of us have swallowed our grief, our exhaustion, our trauma because we believed that being strong meant being silent? Janet Boyd Boyd is challenging that belief, and she is not alone. In 2015, a Black mother in Chicago named Tamar Manasseh heard about the murder of a young mother in her neighborhood. She was devastated, she was angry, and she was tired of watching her community bleed. So she did something radical. She gathered other mothers and they went to the street corners where violence was happening, and they stayed there. They cooked meals. They talked to young people. They created a visible, supportive presence. They called it Mothers Against Senseless Killings. The challenges were immense: community violence, lack of trust in law enforcement, the emotional toll of repeated trauma and loss. These mothers were not trained activists. They were not funded by grants or government programs. They were just mothers who refused to be silent. They refused to let fear dictate their lives. They organized daily gatherings, provided meals, and created safe spaces for their children. And the results were undeniable. Violence decreased in targeted areas. Families found emotional support and practical resources, and the model spread to other cities. This is not just an organization, this is a movement. This is proof that when Black mothers unite, when they refuse to carry the weight of trauma alone, when they turn their pain into action, they can change the world. But here's the thing: that kind of transformation does not happen without vulnerability. It does not happen without someone being willing to say, I am hurting. I am scared. I need help. It does not happen without someone being willing to break the silence. That is what Janet L. Boyd is doing. That is what Tamar Manasseh did. That is what so many Black women are doing every single day in ways big and small. They are refusing to be strong in the way the world expects. They are choosing to be soft, to be honest, to be real. And in doing so, they are saving lives. Now, let me take you to New York. Let me tell you about Topeka K. Sam. Topeka is a Black woman who was formerly incarcerated. She experienced the trauma of loss and separation from her family. She faced the stigma of incarceration and the systemic barriers to reentry. And she could have let that define her. She could have let that break her. But instead, she founded the Ladies of Hope Ministries. This organization empowers women and girls who have experienced incarceration, focusing on healing, advocacy, and entrepreneurship. They provide transitional housing, leadership training, and mental health resources. They foster entrepreneurship among women returning to their communities. And the outcomes are powerful. Hundreds of women have secured stable housing, launched small businesses, and become advocates for justice reform. Topeka K. Sam is changing the narrative about formerly incarcerated Black women. She is demonstrating that healing and leadership can emerge from deep personal pain. She is proving that your past does not have to be your prison. She is showing us that softness, vulnerability, and honesty are not liabilities. They are the foundation of transformation. But here's what I want you to understand. Topeka did not do this by pretending she had it all together. She did not do this by hiding her scars. She did this by being vulnerable, by sharing her story, by saying, I have been where you are, and I am here to tell you that there is a way forward. That is the power of vulnerability. It is not weakness, it is the most radical form of strength. It is the courage to say, I am not okay, and that is okay. It is the bravery to say, I need help, and I am going to ask for it. It is the audacity to say, my story matters, and I am going to share it. And it is not just about individual healing, it is about collective healing. It is about creating spaces where other people can breathe, where they can rest, where they can say, me too. Let me take you to Baltimore. The Black Mental Health Alliance was established to address the mental health needs of Black individuals and families, especially those impacted by trauma, loss, and systemic inequities. The challenges were significant: stigma around mental health in Black communities, lack of culturally competent care, the emotional impact of generational trauma and loss. But this organization offered something different. They offered counseling, support groups, educational workshops, and community events tailored to the unique needs of Black families. They trained hundreds of providers, launched citywide mental health initiatives, and became a trusted resource for Black families. And the impact has been profound: increased access to mental health resources, reduced stigma, improved emotional well being for thousands of community members. The Black Mental Health Alliance is contributing to a broader shift in how Black communities approach mental health, emphasizing healing, resilience, and collective care. They are saying your mental health matters, your trauma matters, your healing matters. They are creating space where Black families can be honest about their pain, their struggles, their need for support. And that is the message Janet L. Boyd is carrying forward. That is the message these mothers in Chicago are carrying forward. That is the message Topeka K. Sam is carrying forward. Your pain is not just yours to carry. Your story is not just yours to hold. Your healing is not just for you. Because here's what I have learned from Janet L. Boyd, from Tamar Manasseh, from Topeka K. Sam, from the Black Mental Health Alliance. When you share your truth, when you speak your pain, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you are not just healing yourself. You are creating a space for someone else to heal. You are giving someone else permission to breathe. You are showing someone else that they are not alone. That is what it means to be soft in a world that taught you survival. It is not about being weak. It is not about giving up. It is about being brave enough to say, I am hurting and I am still here. It is about being courageous enough to say, I need help and that is okay. It is about being bold enough to say, my story matters and I am going to share it. JanetLBoyd Boyd said something that I cannot stop thinking about. She said, God makes it easier to bear my faith and comfort in knowing that He cares for me. That is not just a statement of belief. That is a daily practice. That is a lifeline. That is what it looks like to lean into faith when everything else feels like it is falling apart. That is what it means to trust that you are held even when you cannot hold yourself. And that is what I want you to take with you today. Faith is not just something you have. It is something you practice. It is something you lean into. It is something that holds you when you cannot hold yourself. It is the quiet voice that says, you are not alone. You are cared for. You are loved. So here's the question I want to leave you with. What about you? What about your story? What about your pain? What about your loss? Because here is what I know. Your pain is not just yours to carry. Your story is not just yours to hold. Your healing is not just for you. When you share your truth, when you speak your pain, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you are not just healing yourself. You are creating a space for someone else to heal. You are giving someone else permission to breathe. You are showing someone else that they are not alone. Maybe it is starting a conversation. Maybe it is reaching out to someone who is hurting. Maybe it is sharing your story, even if your voice shakes. Maybe it is simply saying, I see you. I hear you. You are not alone. Because that is what JanetLBoyd Boyd is doing. That is what these mothers in Chicago are doing. That is what Topeka K. Sam is doing. That is what the Black Mental Health Alliance is doing. They are turning their pain into purpose. They are turning their trauma into transformation. They are turning their grief into grace. And you can too. You do not have to have it all figured out. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to be unbreakable. You just have to be willing to be vulnerable, willing to be honest, willing to be soft, because softness is not weakness. Softness is the most radical act of self love. Softness is the most powerful form of resistance. Softness is what it looks like to choose yourself, to choose healing, to choose life, even when the world tells you to keep grinding. So I want to leave you with this. JanetLBoyd Boyd is still standing, not because she is superhuman, not because she has all the answers, but because she made a choice day by day, moment by moment, to keep breathing, to keep believing, to keep speaking her truth. And you can make that choice too. You can choose to be soft. You can choose to be vulnerable. You can choose to share your story. You can choose to heal. You can choose to stand. But here's what I need you to understand. This is not just about you. This is about the person who is watching you right now, waiting to see if it is safe to be honest. This is about the woman who is drowning in silence, waiting for someone to say, me too. This is about the mother who is carrying grief she has never named, waiting for permission to put it down. Your vulnerability is not just your healing, it is someone else's lifeline. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting until you have it all figured out. Stop waiting until you're healed enough, strong enough, ready enough. Start now. Start messy. Start scared. Start soft. Share your story. Speak your truth. Break the silence. Create the space. Be the permission someone else is waiting for. Because when you do, you will not just be changing your own life, you will be changing the world. And that is the strength we were always meant to carry, not the strength to survive alone, but the strength to heal together,